In today's episode of the Virginia Investor Podcast, we have Nathan Dobbins, who has served in the United States Marine Corps. He was a wholesaler, flipper, a host of a monthly real estate meetup and an annual real estate conference. He's the owner of DIG Consulting, Dobbins Investment Group Consulting, and he's joining me from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on here. I want to hear all about your story. You've done some pretty interesting stuff, and I think you're in the middle of some interesting stuff now. Did you grow up in Fredericksburg?
Yeah, so just north of there, up in Stafford.
And then you went to Virginia Tech, correct?
I did for a year and a half, yep.
Awesome. So what time frame was that? Why only a year and a half?
Yeah, so the year and a half, I went down there as a forestry major.
Okay.
I was big into the ag classes, FFA and stuff in high school, and I went down there thinking I was going to be park ranger, state ranger, something like that, or a fire jumper out west.
Interesting.
I just love being outdoors in the agricultural field and that kind of stuff, the industry. But I got down there and got into my major-related classes, and I was like, this is not my alley anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it just didn't spark anything for me. And at the time, when I went to Virginia Tech, I had already joined the Marine Corps as a reservist.
Awesome.
So I was doing the 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and going to school. And so didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up after the forestry classes, and just focused on my Marine Corps career for a few years there.
So you were just uninterested at Virginia. So like once you got down there, you were uninterested. You were like, all right, what am I going to do? But you had already gotten a taste of service, like
Yep.
Obviously something you had wanted to do.
Yep.
And I was in a similar situation early on where I was really debating. I dropped out of college and I was really debating military or this other path. And then I was like, well, I can go down this other path easily and then still serve in the military if that's still an itch. But were you kind of divided on what I do? Do I serve or do I go to college like probably everyone tells you to do?
Yeah, so being in the reserves, I think, is a great option for folks that kind of want to dual pursue, because you have that flexibility. And you still, it depends on your goals with the military too, right? The reserves are kind of cool too, because I spent all 8 years of my career out of the same unit.
Right.
So I didn't have to move me or my family around a bunch, but I still got to serve. I still got deployed. I still had all the training and stuff. And so I think it's a good mix for folks.
That's awesome. Why the Marine Corps?
So my dad was in the Air Force. My grandfather was Navy, and so I went to start talking to recruiters, and I knew I was going to do the reserve thing because I was going to tech, and I was also in the DEP program, the delayed entry program, for almost a year and a half because I had knee surgery, and so I was talking to recruiters for a long time.
Yeah,
I had to go back up to MEPS a couple times, but I was talking to the Navy guys, Navy recruiters, and they were sitting there. I was like, so what's a drill weekend like? What's our 2 weeks in the summer like? And the guys are like, well, we get on the boats and we go out in the ocean. We do circles. Sometimes we'll do squares. We might do triangles or ovals. And then we come back. I was like, cool. That's great, man. Sounds awesome. And Ben, the Marine Corps has always had the connotation of being the hardest branch. The boot camp stories are classic, right? Throughout our society, and I knew deep down inside, if I didn't at least try the hardest one, I'd regret it the rest of my life. So
Right.
Went and talked to them and signed up.
How was your boot camp experience?
And it's formative, like
Right.
It's supposed to be. It was largely as expected. Challenged me and physically, mentally, and it was no one likes physical pain and running and marching 20 miles with a 60-pound pack. Well, some people like it. David Goggins likes it. But it was great. I think
Right.
overall what it instilled in me and gave me and showed me that I could do that before I probably believed I couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, you learn a lot about yourself and what you're capable of, where a lot of people are like, I'm just an average person. I'm just going to have an average job, or, see what I can do in the corporate world, but there's no way I can do any of that hard stuff, right? Yeah. Until they try to do the hard stuff and they realize they are capable and they are able to do it. But then that escalates your mindset into knowing that you can do harder things.
Yeah.
And so when you face hard things today, you get to look back on that perspective and say, well, man, I did that 20-mile ruck and I got through it. And, I dealt with this pain or this injury or whatever. I can definitely deal with this, lack of sleep for this week or something getting through this project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know I hear Joe Rogan clips saying it sometimes. I'm not sure if he originated it, but the hardest shit you've ever been through is the hardest shit you've ever been through.
Right.
And that definitely holds true for sure.
That whole circle, like Joe Rogan and the Keep Hammering guy, Cameron Haynes, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're basically all about like putting yourself through very hard scenarios, so then they know what to do in very hard scenarios.
Yep.
And they can handle just about anything, which I think is pretty cool. Quite a handful of people in my network have that same mindset, and they've accomplished amazing things because when they face these really hard challenges, they just know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the hardest thing they've done.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's awesome. That's great experience to have and a good foundation to set you up for success. Where'd you go from there?
So after the Marine Corps, I got out. I deployed towards the end of my career, got out and did 5 years in manufacturing. So I spent 3 years at an eyeglass manufacturing plant, came in as a maintenance supervisor, stood up a full safety team for them. Before I left, we were actually getting ready to call OSHA in to do their first, call them in to do an inspection. So I was kind of proud of that. And then I did 2 years in the lumber pressure treating industry.
Awesome. And you were also a contractor already at this point, like a Class C contractor that was kind of doing light work for subs and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that actually kind of kicked me off with my spark in investing back in high school. So
awesome.
that's when I had my Class C contractor's license.
So talk to me about, you knew about investing in high school.
Yeah, so that's when I got my license. My best friend and I growing up, we were always in the garage working on our vehicles and stuff. And his father was a master home builder in California. He's a crazy guy. He never stops. He was still building stuff now, but he was a police officer for a while, FBI, and I did a bunch of other stuff. But he, I say taught, he would tell us to go do something and we would have to figure out how to do it right, which is a great way to learn.
Right.
But he had us into building stuff all the time. And so we kind of took those skills to make some extra money. And a lot of the work that my buddy and I were getting, because we were Class C contractors, we can't do big jobs, was for flippers. And so that was kind of the first window into investing that I got. And so when I hopped back on the normal path, right, high school and college, I kind of kept up with podcasts and articles and talking to those flippers and stuff. And it just always kept with me until I ended up just doing it myself. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I know a couple contractors that are not familiar with real estate investing, but got into the game by working on houses. And then I guess they were curious and started asking questions to their clients and saying, like, well, what are you going to do with this house? And then they start to understand, like, well, what'd you buy it for? And they know what the rehab costs are at that point. And then, they can easily find out what it sells for or just maintain that relationship with the client. And then they learn about investing and start buying their own properties. So there's a lot we can unpack from that by basically encouraging your kids or empowering your kids to do hard things or to figure stuff out on their own. And it puts them in the right position to win. And in this case for you, you were empowered and put in a position to fix things and to repair things and learn how to work with your hands and do hard work. Yep. And it puts you in a position to work for flippers. And when you're working for flippers, it gives you the idea of what real estate investing is, which is incredible. Like I didn't learn anything. I didn't know anything about real estate investing until my early 30s.
Yeah.
Right. So you would have a 15-year head start on people like me, basically. Yep. So you went and you got this experience at Virginia Tech and the Marine Corps. You went back to Virginia Tech and got a degree, or did you go somewhere else?
Yeah, so after my 5 years in manufacturing, I decided to go back to school, and we had just had our third child, so I was staying at home with 3 kids, and then went back to school, UMGC, I think it is now, online classes.
Cool.
So I was a veteran, previously cleared, living in Northern Virginia. I figured computer networking and cybersecurity was huge. So that's what I ended up getting my degree in. Finished up in 2019.
Awesome. So when did that real estate itch start coming back? Like, you have your degree and you have been, starting off on your career. You have some great former experience. What happened? Why did this real estate itch come back to you?
The degree was weird. After I completed that, I went to a bunch of job fairs and then 82 job applications later and 1 phone interview and not even a hint of an offer or anything. I was like, obviously this isn't it. And, like I said, I'd always loved it and kept up with it and stuff, and just decided to jump in.
What year was that? Like, what time frame was that?
2019.
Okay, 2019.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so
right before COVID.
Yeah, that's good and bad.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely,
because
100%.
I started investing around 2019, and it was really good because that was still when you could buy houses, and then the appreciation that we saw the next couple of years was just incredible.
Right. Yeah.
So you jumped in doing wholesaling. Was that your first move?
I did, yeah. So I always kind of view myself as being a weird investor. I've always kind of gravitated towards the things that I don't think a lot of people are doing. So I specifically wholesale vacant land.
Okay,
because I was seeing all these people talking about the houses and talking to sellers that were having 6 postcards show up a week in their properties and stuff. And I was like, I just didn't know exactly at that time how to differentiate myself to get these deals, right? And I saw and heard really no one talking about vacant lands. Right. And with the agricultural background and actually where we grew up from 2000 on, my parents, we had 58 acres there. And so we were doing land use management for growing trees and stuff on there. So I had some knowledge on that. And then I just started working with builders as my end buyers. And so they talking with them, I could kind of see how they viewed land and how they valued it and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it was good.
You mentioned you're working with builders and you learn from builders. You do have a background in working with land to some capacity. How else did you learn about, because I think a lot of people don't do that because it's in my opinion, a lot more complicated than wholesaling just properties,
yeah,
right?
Land's weird, yeah.
So many different aspects to it that you need to know to make sure you're getting a good deal or it's buildable or, just whatever zoning requirements. There's just so much to it. Yeah. How did you learn? Like, were you listening to podcasts? Were you reading books? Like, did you join meetup groups or anything like that? How are you learning how to do this?
Yeah, a lot of podcasts. Admittedly, I don't read a lot. I just with 3 kids and run around and stuff. I just don't have a whole lot of sit down time. So a lot of podcasts, articles and stuff. Definitely meetup groups and just talking to people. The big one, I joined the Fredericksburg Area Builders Association. So I'm actually I stuck around long enough and hung out. They put me on the board. So awesome. That's been good relationships there. But yeah, just talking with builders and finding the ones that are willing to sit down with me and look at a piece of property and tell me how they're viewing it. And once you do something long enough, right, you kind of get that base knowledge set.
Right.
And land isn't. It can be complicated, but the base set of stuff, right? You go look at the county ordinances and the zoning regulations. You can read what you can do with the land, right? So it's not too bad, but yeah, it is a different knowledge set. Yeah.
So when you're asking builders to come join you or at least maybe not even physically join you, but just look at this piece of land and provide feedback on it or provide some sort of insider advice, you have to have relationships to be able to do that, or you have to add value in some way to be able to do that. So did you have how were you building those relationships, and then was there any incentive for them to help you, such as I will sell you this land so you can build on it, like any deals like that?
Building those relationships is something that building relationships in general is something that I feel like I've gotten decent at over the years. And I think in our industry and a lot of industries, people in general, relationships are critical. We need to have the right people on our team when we need them. And so my goal at most times, but especially for this type of work, right, I've always wanted to have those good people that I knew, liked, and trusted to work with. I just start talking to everyone about what I'm doing and seeing who's on board.
Right.
And you get knowledge that way. You get to learn about the people around you. And the meetup group helps a ton with that too, right? You get to see who's there, who's consistent, who's honest, right? That's one of the big things, who you want to work with.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I build the relationships. And then the incentive piece, for the builder's perspective, if they have someone like me that's either connected to wholesalers or was being a wholesaler or was finding those deals for them, they don't have time. A lot of them don't have time or want to do that. They want to build houses.
Right.
And so if they can build a relationship with someone that is bringing consistent deal flow and is willing to learn and find deals within your buy box and perspective and stuff, it's advantageous for them.
Right.
And they'll probably get a better deal if I have a relationship with them. And I find a good deal, I'm not going to put it out as maybe a retail wholesaler price for them.
Right. Yeah, and it's built-in buyers.
Right.
Essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I first got into investing, I really appreciated the first-time wholesalers where like I was able, once I knew enough, I was able to guide them on what was a good deal and what wasn't a good deal and what they should look out for when they were wholesaling properties. But it's like a built-in buyer for them, because if they were able to lock down that deal, then I could buy it and be sure to work in their wholesale fee, whatever they felt they wanted on that property.
Absolutely.
But we would work closely together, and then they knew, like, as soon as they locked it down, they had a buyer, so they didn't have that concern.
Right.
Where, like, if you're working directly with builders and they're saying this is a good deal, this is what you can do, this is, you know, what value would be attractive, then you just got to get it under contract. I mean, assuming again, they're good, ethical people,
right?
Like, and they know what they're talking about. You get it under contract, and that thing is like, you're just pushing it away to the builders, which is then strengthening the relationship, and you just keep doing that. I know things aren't easy. Like if you're applying to all these places, you're not hearing back, and you're like, you have kids, you need income. You don't just start wholesaling and getting a ton of, or at least I should say most people don't start wholesaling and getting just a ton of business to cover the salary they need and things like that. What did it look like for you when you jumped off into wholesaling?
Yeah, definitely tight. You know, my wife and I are lucky enough that she makes a decent enough income with what I can supplement with, you know, that we were, and we, you know, like any couple does when stuff changes like that, we pare down expenses and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, no, luckily she was able to provide the majority of what we needed. Yeah, well, we get all this stuff on the ground.
How did you convince her that this was a good idea?
That took a little bit. Yeah, so she's in high level generalities, right? Guys are typically the risk takers, and females typically aren't. Absolutely how my wife was. She has an accounting degree, you know, very much by the book, risk adverse. So it took time of me genuinely asking her to, you know, listen to a few podcasts and read a couple articles, so she could see what I was seeing and see these stories and ran numbers with me and stuff until she was comfortable enough to the point where she was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And knock on wood, I haven't lost money on a deal yet, so that's I'm knock again, but that's helped with her perception of the industry.
That's really interesting. I think that's a key factor to maybe a handful of people that might listen to this. That I hear so many times that a spouse, a husband or wife, is not on board with what the husband or wife is trying to do. And it's you hear different approaches and people approach it differently, which is why I ask, because you know, if your wife is not in that game, she may be really hesitant to let you take those risks. For me, my wife, her father owned rental property, and so she kind of had a taste of it. She had not like ever asked questions about it or had been interested in it or anything like that, but she knew her father owned rental property.
She knew it was a real thing,
Right. And so when I was looking to buy rental properties, she was like, all right, I mean, I guess this is what people do, right? Like my father does it, he's done pretty well. So I bought the first one, and I walked her through the numbers. And I was like, okay, so this is what just happened. This is what just happened to our net worth. This is just what happened to our cash. This is the risk we might have. This is what needs to happen next. This is the next step. But then once we completed that first project, luckily it ended up working out very well. And it was really moderate. It wasn't like a grand slam, but it was like very smooth, just average project that anyone would like and appreciate. And she was like, okay. And I think like my next one was like, bought 3 more, and she was like, and then it was like, you know, walking her through the process, and then those worked out well, and then we bought some more and kind of kept building from there. But she got to see how that was pretty quickly, like changing our financial picture and things like that. But it definitely was, if she would have ever told me that she wasn't comfortable with it or anything like that, absolutely would have slowed down, helped her understand. And then if she would have said absolutely not, I would have figured out another way to make money. But it's interesting to see how people kind of get their spouse on board if there's any hesitancy. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's super important too. You know, some people, I think some couples will kind of detach themselves from work and not worry about that. But when we're taking risks like that, you definitely need your spouse on board, because you're going to need support when stuff gets hard.
100%.
You don't need them hating on you even more.
Especially with kids. Like it's a whole different ball game at that point, because you can't go live in a van somewhere anymore. Like pretty if you need to, but. But yeah, there's another guest of the podcast that actually made the point where we were talking about this. We were talking to their spouses about getting in the game, and some spouses were hesitant. And he made the point that like a lot of people go to a conference or hear a podcast or read a book, and they're so fired up but their spouse wasn't at the conference and didn't read that book or didn't listen to that podcast, and it just sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What are you talking about? We're not going to make $100,000 on in a year, our first year doing it."
Right.
But then like I think like your approach was very reasonable, where it's like, here's some information, like digest it, and I'll help you. We'll walk through this together and see if this is something we want to do. Yeah. But that's pretty cool. So was there a specific deal early on that like gave you momentum that was like, all right, let's keep going down this path?
Yeah, it's funny, man. I sometimes with kids too, I hear this, but I feel like there's a good bit of investors that first deal just works great. Doesn't have to be a huge, like you said, headliner deal, but it just works out somehow and sets that hook right in your investor mouth. But no, I believe it was like a month and a half, 2 months in, I was sending postcards to landowners. Husband passed away, didn't want the land anymore. I asked her what she wanted for it. She said 30 grand. I said, great. Got under contract, talked to a couple of the builder guys that I knew. And one of them was like, oh yeah, I actually want a personal residence in that area. And he bought it for 50. So
awesome.
First wholesale deal done.
Yeah. That's great. So you mentioned postcards?
Postcards, yeah.
So was that your main strategy for getting leads, or were you doing some other stuff too?
So I was running out of PropStream, sending postcards to targeted zip codes in the area. And I grew up in the region, so I kind of knew some of the geographical layout. I would look at community development plans too, comprehensive projected plans for the counties, and kind of see maybe where some path of progress opportunities might be as well. And then, word of mouth. So once I started working with builders and stuff, and with the meetup, and that started to grow in the area and stuff, I would get land deals from people as well.
So you were wholesaling, but you were also flipping.
I didn't do a lot of flips.
Okay, not a whole lot of flips.
Yes, that flipping, I was, even with my construction background, I think flipping can be pretty risky.
Yeah. So you will take some risks, but flipping is like you probably flipping at scale. Can be very risky, right? If you have 10 projects going on at once or something like that. But
no, I'd cherry pick flips. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have probably done 3 flips, maybe. Like I would just do it when it was the right fit, fell in my lap. But that's not really my game. My game is like to build a rental portfolio. I've wholesaled maybe 1 or 2. Yeah. But I want to buy and hold as much as possible. Did you ever get into the buy and hold game? Build a portfolio?
I didn't. I guess again, like I've always kind of been a weirdo, I feel like. So when I started investing, I was doing the wholesaling. I always kind of thought I wanted to be a syndicator when I grew up. Okay. And so I was looking at syndication deals all the time, just poring over data, looking for investor avatar, typical returns, deal structure, markets, all that kind of stuff, right? And while I was doing that, this was 2020. And I started seeing people sell their homes and RV full time. And so I started that piqued my interest just because of how quick and how many people were doing it so quickly. It seemed interesting to me. And so when I started jumping in the data, I was looking at RV sales data. It was taking a hard J turn. I think 2021 or 2022, the average new RV purchaser age was 33. So your top 2 demographics that you had were baby boomers and millennials that were doing it. And so I joined the Virginia and the National Association of RV and Campground Owners and went to their conference and talked to consultants and stuff. They do an annual survey of all their members as well, and they compile an annual report on ownership stuff and campers and what they're looking for and that kind of stuff. And so pouring over that data, putting together my projections for a park and that kind of stuff. And so instead of a rental portfolio, my personal goal is to develop a campground.
That's awesome.
And have that be my cash flow play.
I love that. And I might be able to make a connection for you. I think there was a buddy of mine that was looking at campgrounds and kind of went down that route. And I think he ended up buying couple of them in really nice destinations, and which I think is awesome because it seems like it would be a good investment, and it seems like it would be relatively low maintenance if it's set up right. Yeah. But also you can take your family camping like whenever you want. Yeah. That's the good thing about vacation property and stuff like that is like you can also use that property with your family and kids and everything.
If you have to go to work and it's a campground, right? That's not horrible.
Yeah, like if we have to go to our beach house and we have to do some maintenance for a week. That's all of it is like a part of the business, or I should say like a lot of it is a part of the business, that we're running down there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You found commercial real estate.
I did.
When was that?
Around the same time,
Okay.
as I was starting to get heavier into the RV research and stuff. So I started looking at hotels and stuff with a couple buddies because they were kind of hot at the time. And then I was working a deal in town in Fredericksburg. It was a B&B property that had event space and it had a restaurant.
Got it.
I had a contract offer out to them, and I had a partner that was going to come on board to bring some equity cash, and he also ran a private equity firm in town that had a hospitality arm.
Awesome.
And so they were going to run the restaurant. That deal ended up falling through, but that was the owner of the Riffian Group, so that's how I ended up getting into the private equity firm that I could solve for now. And so with that, he primarily wanted commercial real estate so we could put our restaurants into and that kind of stuff. So that really sparked my deeper dive into the commercial side of stuff.
Do you know what year that was? Because COVID took a hard hit.
Yeah, that had to have been 2020, I think.
Okay, so maybe pre-COVID. Because if you're looking at hotels and saying hotels are looking good right now, that was probably just before COVID.
Yeah, not the big hotels. Yeah, like the smaller Airbnbs, like the boutique hotels.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. Which COVID was kind of fueling those because they were smaller number of rooms and that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you prefer now the commercial side?
Yeah,
are you more intrigued by that and you want to run with that? I mean, I'm sure you'll still do some other stuff, but what do you think, commercial versus residential? Why are you pulled towards commercial?
Commercial is fun to me because it seems like more of a puzzle, right? Residential real estate is largely the same thing in every case. Commercial real estate, just with the different zonings that you have and the different industries that are out there that could use those and the path of progress stuff. There's a lot of different avenues, I think, in it. And because it's still people, not all the time, but there's not as much emotion that goes into it. So not that I don't have emotions or anything, right. But it's just we don't have to worry about trying to find someone a hotel room for a week while we renovate their property.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's more of a puzzle, I think. I think that's what intrigues me about the most.
Yeah, and I always refer to commercial versus residential as commercial is more of a professional relationship.
Yeah.
Between tenants and landlords, et cetera.
Yeah.
But there is a lot less emotion there, and I have plenty of emotions, but I don't want emotions in deals, right?
Yeah.
Or in business by any means. It needs to be, is it a good deal, bad deal?
Right.
Is, what's good for both parties, and it's just straight up about the numbers and about the goals and strategies of those people.
Yeah.
Whereas on the residential side, it's half of that, but then also a bunch of emotions. And what are we doing with this person? They have a family, they need someplace to stay.
Yeah.
We need to take care of those people, et cetera.
Yeah. Or if it's 5 siblings fighting over the parents' property that just passed away.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're in the middle of it, trying to convince them to sell or get rid of that property when they're dealing with
or to love their
grief
siblings and have some grace. Yeah.
Right. We kind of breeze into commercial as saying okay, cool. So you're doing commercial now. That's a big change. It's a big change, but you are someone who figured out the vacant land wholesaling, which is a bit more complicated in my opinion than just typical property wholesaling. And then now you're going to commercial, which is, in my opinion, a bit more complicated than residential. Now I know if you have years in commercial, they're going to be it's not, I think once you have it figured out, it's not that complicated.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of people will start in residential and they'll never make the jump to commercial when they're perfectly capable of doing that because it's different. Right. And again, maybe I shouldn't say more complicated. It's just different, right? When you're in the residential world, it feels like just an insanely different planet over here.
Right.
Once you start looking at the numbers and evaluating and everything like that, how did you learn to make that jump into commercial? What kind of relationships did you build? What did you study? What were you listening to, et cetera?
Yeah, so a lot of it, again, was podcasts and articles and stuff. Being on the board eventually with the Builder Association and having those relationships, we've got developers and stuff in there. We've got Ryan Homes in there, Tricor, these big land development companies. And so I was hearing all the terminology, is hanging out with those people. And I would just run deals all the time, just run numbers. I guess that's kind of how I look at different asset classes. I don't really worry so much about the asset class. I'll run the numbers on that deal. If I don't know what terms or numbers there are there, I'll find someone that does and get them to explain it to me, or I'll go do my own research, probably both. But that's kind of how I've gotten into it, and just running a bunch of numbers. That's what I tell people to do, even when they're trying to flip or buy and hold invest. I'll tell them to just go look at pick your neighborhood where you're going to invest, just go run numbers on all those houses in there. That way, when a good deal does come along, you'll know what it looks like.
Right. And you're not trying to scramble last
Right.
minute. There is something to that as well. I forget where I heard it, but essentially, you don't need to know everything about commercial real estate. But when it comes across your plate and you don't know, you need to know how to find those resources, right?
Yeah.
Because those resources can point you in the right direction. And then you learn about what you need to know in that setting. And then when you have that come up in the future, you've already done it. Like you already know it. And so I think that could be one reason why a lot of people in residential don't make the jump to commercial. Not that they have to, but if they were interested and they don't do it, is because they might not understand that like it's okay to kind of learn on the fly.
Yeah.
Like you're not obligated. You don't have to get something under LOI if you're uncomfortable with it. Like you're not forced to. You can you can be like, man, well, I missed this one because I need to learn this. Let me learn this so next time I don't miss it.
Yeah. Just keep taking those steps. Absolutely. Right up the LOI. Show it to a commercial agent, see what they think, see if they have a fly. Yeah, just take a shot at it.
When you're looking for commercial deals, do you rely more on commercial brokers, direct outreach like mailers and stuff like that, or like builder relationships or other referral relationships?
You mean for deal sourcing?
Correct.
Yeah, so I guess for me, I didn't really start at any of those just because I kind of had a network set up already, and I just kind of told them I was doing commercial now, and so I got stuff from different areas. The broker that I work with in town is amazing. He sends me deals. But yeah, I still get people to just, because I do a bunch of just general networking in town too with like businesses and stuff, not investing focused. So that's been a boon for me, I think, because I have all those people out there in the community talking to their clients and customers and stuff. And, I got sent realtors a lot too. They'll send me flip potentials and stuff like that. But once enough people kind of know what you do, they'll start bringing you stuff. Yeah.
And you've surrounded yourself with people, like putting yourself around all the builders, starting a monthly meetup, holding an annual real estate conference. You are surrounded by people in this game. So you have a person for that, for whatever you need, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's, like I said, having those people there is just amazing. One of the best examples that I've run into with that is it was a parcel up by us in Stafford. I wanted to do a RV and boat storage facility on it. I pulled up the listing on it, and I knew the agent already, longtime agent in the area. Met him at a networking event a little bit ago. I had his cell phone number in my phone. I had just gone to the conferences and stuff for the National Association of the State, so I had the engineers that I needed for that, and folks that were in the RV space. And then I had my builder buddies that knew to help me look at the zoning, figure out the stormwater stuff we would need, and all that kind of stuff. So it was the way it lined up. It was perfect. I had all the people in my phone that I needed to when that potential opportunity presented itself.
So I guess let's talk about your network for a little bit and like how you structured this, because I think this is probably largely a part of your current success and ongoing success is who you've surrounded yourself with. Like is pretty awesome. Yeah. So you have the Fredericksburg Area Builders Association. Yeah. You got started on that early on, and then now you said you stuck around long enough and you're on the board.
Yeah.
What should people look for in their local markets, maybe throughout Virginia, to find something like that? Are you familiar with one in Richmond? Would it just be the Richmond Area Builders Association? Is that as simple as it gets?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Fredericksburg Area Builders Association oversees 7 counties in the state.
Okay.
There's a National Home Builders Association, NAHB. But yeah, there's definitely local chapters everywhere. If anyone wants more info, feel free to reach out. Pretty sure Daniel Clayman's part of the Richmond Builders Association. But there's lots of great benefits, definitely for investors too. I mean, we have discounts on materials. I think they just got a contract with Ram, the car company. I think we have a discount with them now.
Right.
The political stuff that the Home Builders Association does helps as well. The National Association of Home Builders and their PAC, the way they support the building industry at a state and national level is great too. So it's definitely important to our industry.
What about your monthly meetup? Tell us about that, the name of the meetup, and walk us through how that started. Like, did you see a need for it and you said, I'm going to fill that need, or what?
Yeah, so Bigger Pockets is where I started a lot of my knowledge gaining early on and from high school, because they've been around since like 2003 or something like that. Brandon Turner, he was still the main podcast host when I was listening to it, and he had said, if there's not a meetup in your area, start one. And I took that to heart. I live kind of in between Fredericksburg and Warrenton, And the meetup groups that I had been to in Fredericksburg up to that point weren't doing it for me.
Right.
And there was no groups in Warrenton. And so I didn't want to, try to piss off anyone in Fredericksburg or try to compete again with a bunch of people. Yep. So I started in Warrenton. And it was great pre-COVID because I started in 2019. So pre-COVID, our last meeting, we had like 35 people there. COVID hampered that for a while. But no, my initial goal was just to create the group and have people get together and learn from each other. And I have a speaker come talk every month about whatever related subject to investing. And then it's just open networking, and it's free. It always will be. And that's kind of my vision for it.
And then your Invest Up annual conference, talk to us about how that got started. Was it kind of more of an extension of, hey, we have a really cool community here. Mm-hmm. Let's do an annual kind of blowout event that everyone could get together and we bring in speakers and things like that. How did that get started?
Yeah, so that was a large inspiration from Jim Ingersoll, awesome. Right? Going to Dealmaker. He's been a huge inspiration to me. And just seeing what he's been able to create with his amazing heart for sharing and connecting people. And Richmond has a fantastic investor meetup scene.
Absolutely.
A lot of what I do is trying to emulate that up in Fredericksburg for that market. And then, it was a mix of being inspired by Jim and also hearing from people that can't make the Tuesday night meetups once a month, kind of trying to pack some information together for folks that come out for one day and network and learn and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So with that monthly meetup and that, because I do believe in that, like, if you're the one who can connect the people, that's a good room to be in, I think, if you're connecting good people, right?
Yep.
How have the monthly events and the annual event impacted your business?
It might sound silly, but I would say it's priceless. We need to have good connections with the people that we want to work with. I probably can't say it enough. You need to be able to trust the people that you're doing this with, right? This is your and your family's livelihood. And the way to do that is to have real face-to-face conversations and try to do deals together or see who's doing what and that kind of stuff. But and showing those people that you're someone that can be trusted and you can do deals with, right?
Right.
I think one of my biggest example I love telling for the relationship stuff is the first flip I did. I'm in the middle of my second one right now. So the first flip I did, I took it to this hard money lender that I knew. I'd known him for 3 years or so by that time. It was a great deal. Brought it to him. He funded the purchase and the rehab 100% on my first flip. Like you don't really hear that from first time flippers. Hard money lender is going to laugh at you if you ask them to do that, right? But that's my relationship and that good deal. We got 100% funding for that.
What value do the participants walk away from after your monthly meetup or your annual? What do they get out of that?
A lot of it's similar, but I would say the monthly meetup is great for those good, typical investors that are around in our region, just to touch base again, see what's going on, learn from whatever speaker we have that month, right? I have everyone from insurance to mortgage lenders and all kind of stuff, hard money lenders, flippers. But I think just that keeping up those relationships throughout the month and talking about deals and stuff is just priceless. And then the annual conference, same kind of stuff. The annual conference is good too. I think it brings in a different crowd sometimes, which is good to mix it up, meet new people and that kind of stuff. And then having all those, it's typically some different speakers too that I get for that. So hearing from different investors than sometimes we usually do or see is good.
How would you describe the Fredericksburg market? I obviously have been to Fredericksburg a lot. I know it's in between DC and Richmond, so you're squeezed in between two really strong markets. How does Fredericksburg look as an investor?
Yes, I think we have a great market there. Like a lot of stuff, there's a lot of stuff turning over at the moment, residential and commercial, for various factors. I like, much like Richmond and DC, right? We're largely stable compared to the rest of the country, I think, from all the military bases that we have and proximity to DC and that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit insulated, I think, compared to the rest of the country. And with those military bases, we get a good turnover of population at a good clip. We have a lot of community commuter neighborhoods down there for DC and Richmond. And stuff's pushing west now as well. We're our region is a major hub for data centers and a lot of technology stuff. It's starting to come here, so it's a good region.
I've heard a lot of good things about Fredericksburg. I've heard there's a lot of, and naturally, again, with DC, Fredericksburg, and Richmond, it's really hard to go wrong in that market.
Yeah.
Like, or at least it seems like it. It seems like it would be a very stable market to be in.
Yeah.
I know you're doing commercial, have been doing land. What do you think about different asset classes? What do you think about multifamily there, commercial, single family homes, or land? Do you think there's one that stands out in Fredericksburg, or are you just kind of like, it's a great market in general, get what you can, that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, we follow the trends like every region does. Multifamily, we do not have a lot of up that way. Duplexes and triplexes are scarce and few and far between, and definitely the larger multifamily stuff, there hasn't been a whole lot of it. There's more of that starting to come. We've got a multifamily development happening in downtown Fredericksburg right now, but it's shifting towards that way. Industrial's starting to get big up there. The sense is that's coming from a lot of the reshoring stuff that's happening with manufacturing and some other bigger industries that are coming around to this coast too. But industrial is getting pretty hot right now.
How is it working with the municipality, like for permitting and stuff? Because Richmond is a nightmare.
Bro, yeah, it's tough.
Tough.
And that's especially right now too. We have so many on the political side of stuff, board of supervisors and that kind of stuff. There's so many seats that are up right now in the state that are being decided. They're going to be pretty pivotal for how it's going to affect our industry going forward. But no, it's very difficult and time consuming to get permits. Other counties are better than others, but yeah, I mean, we've got some people not getting comments back on projects for 14 months.
Wow.
It's crazy, man. And we hear that, being with the Builders Association, we hear all that stuff at the board meetings and we're at the networking events talking to folks. It's a huge problem.
Tell us about DIG Consulting. I'm interested to learn like what kind of work you do there and what groups you work with and things like that. Like, how did that come to fruition based on your previous knowledge and experience of investing in wholesaling?
Yeah, so I changed the name of the LLC to Dig and Consulting because I named it Dobbins Realty in the beginning. That was a huge mistake. Everyone thought I was a licensed agent, right? So I definitely shouldn't have done that. But no, that's just my mentality on kind of what I do now. With the meetup group and everything, I get deals that come across my desk and I just work the deals, and when the good ones show themselves, we'll work that. It's and the consulting piece, that's what I'm doing for the PE firm, and then that's just I just love helping people, especially new investors, not get taken advantage of and stuff like that, and yeah, just helping people, consulting with them on whatever kind of deal they're looking at.
On your consulting work, are you like an equity partner as well in some of these deals? Are you able to structure that, or is it more just like a consulting fee?
Yeah, so everything I'm doing basically right now is equity partnerships. Yeah, so
cool.
I'm setting up the deal and bringing in the partners. Sweet. And getting the deal done.
So that's kind of more in line with like the syndication desire maybe not technically a syndication, but it's more along the lines of like, you still get to structure the deal and kind of GP it in a sense, even though it's not technically, a fund or anything, but you're putting the right partners together, you're GPing the deal in a sense, and then bring it to fruition.
Yeah, I'll eventually probably come back to the syndication thing. I'm sure I'll have a fund at some point. And I have some buddies that will look at some stuff too. And we've talked about doing a fund, but the equity partnerships is just easier, and it helps align people so much more. The partners, if you're in it at a high equity percentage together, you're going to be aligned and you're going to make sure that deal succeeds. So
you're also doing some work with the Virginia Real Estate Investors Alliance.
Yes.
That is a group, from what I understand, that is essentially fighting to protect landlords' rights in the state of Virginia. Tell me a little bit more about that group.
Sure. So we started that a little over a year ago. Fred Krause was instrumental in putting that together. He kind of brought a few meetup group leaders together, and we formed that. It's a 506C, so it's basically a political action committee that we have just to stand up for real estate investors' voice in the state. A lot of people remember last year the wholesaling law that got passed. That's kind of what sparked it, lit the fire.
Interesting.
Really, for me, you go back and watch the footage of that in the General Assembly building when that bill was presented. Wholesaling was represented basically the complete opposite of what I think it actually does to neighborhoods. So they vilified it, and then there was no one on the other side to correct that or explain how wholesaling actually works. And so that, to me, that just seemed like at the state level General Assembly, we can't have both opinions when we're presenting the bills. There, like, it just seemed crazy to me.
Right.
And then just in talking to these representatives now, you know, a lot of them, they don't have the background to have the knowledge to know what to do with this stuff.
Right.
So we're engaging representatives, elected representatives in the state and local levels, just to make sure that, hey, we're here as a sounding board for you. If you get anything that comes across your desk, the bills on anything investing or housing, that kind of stuff, come talk to us. Happy to give you our opinion. And then go out proactively as well and meet with these folks and give them our opinions on stuff and bills that we're watching that are coming up to get voted on. You know, we need to let them know how that's going to be detrimental to the state and their region, their local area, or how it's going to be good. You know, tell people also that
Right.
This is great. Yeah, support that.
Right. I'm familiar with the bill you're talking about, but I wasn't aware that it was somewhat unopposed.
Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of a bummer. But I think a lot of these things kind of get shuffled through and kind of passed through quietly. And then the people who would oppose it are just busy, just working and doing their thing. And they're just not really, they're just trusting that, you know, that the laws are going to stay reasonable. And I think that's not always true, especially like on a state level.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I've said this, I came to this realization myself a couple months ago, but yeah, most real estate investors, right, we're doing this to get time freedom, to spend time with our family and relax and do that, right? I don't think a lot of us typically think about how drastically these laws can affect those goals and what we're currently doing. So yeah, I mean, I think people should start getting involved, I think.
Do you know how they can go to a link, or I'm putting you on the spot here?
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, so our website is vreia.org.
Okay.
You can set up a monthly subscription there, become a member, donate some money, whatever you want to do there. Check out the bills that we're watching right now. See what they look like. We usually do, once you're on our email list too, we see bills coming out that we don't like. We'll send out draft emails that you can send to your representative to say, hey, this is not good for my industry. You know, we need to oppose this, or this is great, support that. And so just trying to do that grassroots thing and get people involved and get them aware of the stuff that's happening that's going to affect them.
That's awesome. I appreciate your work with that. I mean, that's good work to
Thanks,
do.
man. Appreciate it.
Because I personally know a handful of people in that group, and it is absolutely not the type of group that only cares about landlords and getting rich and so, you know, like the common theory.
Yeah.
It is people who care about housing in Virginia, and they want to keep it. They know what's going to happen if these laws go too far on one side. It's going to really affect housing in a negative way. And we need people that want to bring neighborhoods back to life and then provide them at affordable cost, you know, and do it the right way within the law and legally, and take care of the tenants. I mean, a lot of the people that are in our network really care about the resident. They genuinely care about the resident. This is just their job to provide housing so that they can have that time freedom or financial freedom or anything like that. But a ton of work goes into it, but they really care about that resident. And I know, regardless of what's said on Reddit or other platforms, right? It's like the people that I know, or at least that are in my circle, are doing it the right way and doing it the way it should be done. But these laws don't account for those people largely. So it's good that you're doing that work. For someone listening who wants to get started in vacant land wholesaling in general, commercial real estate, what do you think is the most important steps that they can take to get started?
I love this question. I get it a lot. Typically what I tell people is a couple things. Figure out how much money you've got that you're willing to risk, because this is an investment. Make sure you and if you have one, a significant other, are on the same page. Make sure you guys are aligned. Figure out what you kind of want to look at first. Kind of focus on something. If you have a construction background, or if you have a person in your family that has a construction company, you want to look at flipping, that's fine. Just don't go into it thinking it's going to be HGTV and you're making $1 million in half an hour. And really start networking. That's the big thing, right? Getting that knowledge base. Start meeting the people that you want to emulate, or that you're gonna want on your team. Figure out who those people are you want to work with. Those are really the biggest things.
And I'll talk to younger people often who are like, well, I'm still in high school, I'm still in college. My time is taken up doing this, where we know there's probably more time in the day than they realize. But The simple answer is you could still build relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And you do that from anywhere. You can do it through social media. You can do it, wherever, email, anything. Like, you could still build relationships. And if you get out of high school or out of college and you're 100 people deep in like really solid relationships with people that you want to emulate, you're in a really good position. Because then you can partner with them, you can work through that, you can learn from them, you can find out what their pain point is and take that off their plate.
Right.
There's just so much you can do to get started. And I think that is a key component where you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for more time. You don't have to wait for more money. You don't have to wait, whatever it is. Like, you can take steps to get started if this is something you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does the next 5 years look like for you?
I wish I knew. That's a great question. Ideally, next 5 years, we've got the Riffian Properties leg of the PE firm stood up with multiple assets in there. Hopefully by then, we're looking at a few larger ground-up development projects right now, self-storage, retail, and multifamily mixed use. So I'd love to have one of those completed by the end of 5 years. Because I can have all the knowledge and network in the world, right? But a lot of people care about track record. And so doing that first, especially jumping from like residential commercial, doing that first deal is always the toughest. That's part of the fun and the challenge, but yeah, it's going to be, next 5 years is going to be good, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you plan on staying close to Fredericksburg? Any desire to expand outside of Fredericksburg?
Yeah, so I'm a weirdo, I think, right? Typically you hear people say and focus on one asset class, niche down to this and get good at it. I kind of view what I do, I'm good at the region. I'll look at the region, and like I said, because of the meetup and the conference and the networking and stuff, I get all kinds of different deals. And I guess selfishly, I don't want to say no. I'm only looking at these, so I'll look at whatever comes across my desk, and if it makes sense, then we'll try to execute.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I'm a big fan of. I'm kind of spoiled having a management company in Central Virginia, so I have no interest in investing outside of Central Virginia.
Right. Yeah.
It's a great market, but like I want my company to control the asset and make sure it's taken care of and things like that. So I'm sort of similar where like, sure, if something drops on, just drops in my lap and it's an amazing deal somewhere outside this market, yeah, I'll figure that out. But I do, like, I'm actively looking in Central Virginia and doing deals with people in Central Virginia.
Yeah, you're 99 out of 100 times going to get a better deal and great deals in your region with your network than you're going to get outside.
Right. And if you do get deals from outside of your network or outside of your market, it largely, like a lot of times they come from within your network.
Right.
Like one of my neighbors had a house in Smith Mountain Lake, and I'm like, well, that's out there. I love Smith Mountain Lake. It's out there, but this is an opportunity. But it was from someone that I knew locally, right? It still came from within my local network, and it, so yeah, I think that's right. Do you think about legacy at all? Like, do you think about legacy, or right now you're like, I'm just in it for really the chase and getting deals done? Or are you thinking about way ahead of what all this is going to turn into and why you're doing this?
I do think out way ahead. Typically when I do, it's the legacy for my family. Yeah. I know the investor community is going to be strong, and I hope that whatever happens, like I hope my meetup group or whoever it ends up being, I hope there's a great meetup group in town. I hope we have a conference in town, because it's just better for the investor community and any community when you've got that kind of network that you can lean on. But yeah, no, legacy largely for my family, just setting us up so we don't have to worry about the typical stuff of the paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck and that kind of stuff, and what the kids are going to do and that kind of deal, and just have that security for them. That's really the main goal.
It's interesting how quickly everything turns to family when you have kids. Like all goals then shift to taking care of your family and providing for them, making sure they're happy and live the life they want to live. How can people find you?
I'm on Facebook largely, Nathan Dobbins. The meetup group, monthly meetup group, is the Fredericksburg Real Estate Investor Meetup Group. I'm not very inventive.
Is that on meetup.com or anything like? How do they get involved with that?
Yeah, Facebook. It's a private group though, so friend request me. I kept it private, so try to keep all the bot accounts out as much as possible, which I think has been great. We've got some good engagement on there, and we just crossed 1,700 people in the group too, so it's growing good. And then the website for the conference is investupfxbg.com. September 30th. It's going to be great. Our lineup of speakers, I think, is awesome this year. Got 2 breakout sessions. I'm giving you breakfast and lunch. And then we're doing our happy hour in a speakeasy downtown Fredericksburg.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So September 30th of 2025.
Yep.
So that is by the time
2 weeks
this podcast. So we need to get this podcast out.
I should ask timeline. Yeah.
We got to get this podcast out.
Or we'll put a post in the Facebook group maybe. If you want.
Yeah. We'll get it out there. So September 30th, 2025. Still tickets available for the annual conference. FXBG. Or investupfxbg.com. Okay, awesome. And then your consulting group, is that a public business that you're offering to more people than the hospitality group, or?
I haven't to this point. I would entertain that if someone wanted to do that, but yeah, just right now it's just a PE firm.
So just get in touch with Nathan Dobbins, find him on Facebook, and then you can connect to just about everything you're doing from there.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Any final thoughts?
I think one big thing I've been hearing from a lot of folks is kind of how tough it's been finding deals recently, how tough it's been raising capital. When you look at any and the large majority of the super successful people out there, the top answer from all of them on how they achieve their success is perseverance. So I would just say there's going to be tough days. Just keep going. Find someone that you can lean on to talk to about whatever's troubling you, the deal or whatever. But just keep going, keep taking those steps. Don't give up on yourself. It's you can do it. Yeah.
That's a good way to wrap up the podcast. And that's a great word. Thank you for all that you're doing in your community. You're bringing people together. You're helping people understand that they can do more than they thought they could. Thank you for your service in the United States Marine Corps. I really appreciate that. And keep doing good work with the Investor Alliance group. Your consulting. I mean, everything that you're doing seems to be pushing communities in the right direction, pushing people in the right direction, helping people find time and financial freedom. And you're a big part of that. I mean, you're connecting these groups and bringing people together, and you're serving on these boards to make sure that people have the knowledge, the resources, the information they need. So really appreciate what you're doing, the work you're putting in, and thank you for taking your time to come on the podcast and
absolutely, man. It's been
talk
great
to us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.